So greetings, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good.
Yes.
Let's just take a moment to let everybody come in and settle in. Whenever we do something like this, and whenever you go to your cushion to meditate, to take just a minute to, as they say, now that your body has come to the cushion, bring your mind to the body, which means just gather yourself. Just take a minute to literally just a minute to find your posture, to relax your body. We don't talk about this very much, but it's incredibly important. And it shows up even in the most sort of sophisticated meditation journals or texts. To just take a moment to allow yourself to really come into your body, gather yourself, leave behind for the time that you're on the cushion, try to leave behind your worldly concerns, as we say. And then, of course, this is a time, if we were meditating together, this is a time when we would recite our aspiration, for the benefit of all, why we're doing what we're doing. You could use the joy of living aspiration. You could use any aspiration. You could write your own aspiration. You could use a traditional Buddhist aspiration. This is completely up to you. But when we start something like meditation, with an aspiration, we're holding that endeavor in a virtuous kind of, in sort of a virtuous grip, you could say. And then the whole thing, whether we're studying or meditating or just talking like this, then the whole thing becomes enriched. Our endeavor becomes enriched. Okay. So for those of you who, this is our second time of coming together like this, and for those of you who weren't with us the last time, this is an opportunity to just hang out and ask questions and hear from you. And we can hear from you live. If if you raise your hand, then I'll call you live. Or if you would rather put something in the chat box, Dirk is with us and he'll read from the chat box. And generally I want to keep the whole thing quite informal and to hear from you. Questions are the most important thing. That a good question, a question that is meaningful to you, can completely change your meditation practice, can have a deep impact on your life. There's no wrong questions. As they say, the only bad question is the one that wasn't asked. So the other thing about asking your questions in this kind of environment is that everybody gets to hear from you and they get to hear the answer, and everybody will take something out of it. So questions are the best way to learn. When I studied, as you know, I moved to Nepal to study with Mingyur Rinpoche's father I went there for a year and didn't get around to coming back for 12 years. Tokujin used to say, Mingyur Rinpoche's father used to say, I'll teach you everything you need to know to get enlightened in one weekend. Then just go away and come back and see me once a year for a checkup. I didn't even get the go away part right. But every time I would go to see him, I would have my list of questions. And he would very patiently say, oh, this guy's coming with all these damn questions. And it was wonderful. So this is a particularly potent way to learn, because when you ask a question, then you have some investment in the whole inquiry. So please don't be shy. Everybody will get something out of hearing your question. And I don't know if they'll get anything from my answer, but anyway, we'll have a good time. And yeah, so what I'll do, in these gatherings for 15 minutes, if I can hold myself back, I'll go on and on and on. I hope I don't bore you, but I'll sort of pick up some thread, some little tidbit of the path that I feel like is an important paradigm. that we may cover in the joy of living, and we may not cover in the joy of living. So in the joy of living, Mingyur Rinpoche, as you already know, he lays out the entire, the sort of basis, the basis of this rhythm that you've heard over and over and over again, and it will get implanted in your brain like a Coca-Cola commercial. Awareness, compassion, and wisdom. Awareness, compassion, and wisdom. Awareness, compassion, and wisdom. So these notes are played all the way through the path, from the very beginning all the way to the end. And whether you aspire to go on to, sort of more formal Buddhist practice or not, doesn't really matter. Mingyur Rinpoche is very, very dedicated and very convicted in the point that in the Joy of Living's level 1, 2, 3, you're given an entire lifetime of practice, a lifetime of understanding. And so this is completely wonderful. And then again, you can go on further into a sort of more classic Buddhist training. But if you don't want to, then your discovery of awareness and all that comes from it, your discovery of compassion, your discovery of wisdom will enrich your life, enrich anything that you do. If you have another faith tradition, it will enrich that. If you have an activity, like going to work, getting along with people, whatever it might be, having a family, having a mate, it will enrich your life. And what you're learning here in the Joy of Living level 1, 2, 3, these themes, awareness, compassion, wisdom, you will come back to again and again and again. So this is why it's so helpful to gather and to clarify questions. In general, along the path, we have sort of 3 stages. And in the Joy of Living, Mingyur Rinpoche talks and teaches exceedingly clearly and eloquently about meditation. But classically, we talk about three aspects. One is the learning quality. The second is the contemplation quality. And the third is meditation. So we learn. So we learn in this case, for instance, we learn about what is mind? What is the agitated surface of mind that Mingyur Rinpoche calls monkey mind? What is the basis of mind, which is this unchanging awareness? So we learn about mind and mind's world. How does this work? What are the qualities that we might find within this awareness? The qualities of loving kindness, the qualities of compassion. So we learn about wisdom, for instance, in the Joy of Living level 3. Some of you haven't taken it yet, but there's a lot to learn there. It's a little geeky, actually. This is learning the sort of core philosophy that goes is behind all of our meditation. So we learn these things, and then we take them out into our life and challenge them. Is it true that monkey mind is agitated? Is it true that there's a quality of me that's unaffected by what arises in mind? Is it true that when I'm settled and relaxed and open, there's a quality of heart, there's a quality of warmth? Is this true? Is this true about me? Is it true that whatever I do is in an effort to develop a little bit greater happiness, a little less dissatisfaction? Is that true? These are the propositions that Mingyur Rinpoche is making, so we need to check it. Could it possibly be true that when my partner was angry at me, that behind the anger, he or she just wanted to be happy, just wanted a little less grief? They may have pulled it off atrociously, but is it possible that the very things that drive us crazy about people are actually themselves expressions of their misguided attempts to have a little less grief in their life and a little more ease? So this is a proposition. This is a radical proposition. Is it true that everything is impermanent? And we take these out into our life and we check it and we ponder it. And to be honest with you, we get quite neurotic about it. This is important. We worry about these things. Is this possibly true? Could it possibly be that my friends who drive me crazy, could it possibly be that inherently they're perfect? And I'm not seeing that. And maybe that's a shortcoming on my part. Could that possibly be true? And we sort of drive ourselves crazy wondering about these things. So meditators sometimes, particularly for their first years, can be quite awkward because we're pondering these things quite clearly and we're interested in them. This is so wonderful. This is a sign of kind of waking up. This is like the chicken coming out of the egg. It's a little awkward, but it's really amazing. So then we contemplate using thoughts and concepts. We contemplate what we've learned. And then we sit down on the cushion, and then the whole thing begins to just seep into our system. And this is the phase of meditation. So in these gatherings, what I always will be wanting to do is to place what you've learned, place what you're doing, place your questions in a sort of larger context of you could say, of being a practitioner. There's a difference between being a meditator and being what we call a practitioner, or a yogin in Sanskrit. A yogin is someone who takes everything in their life as an opportunity for deeper understanding, deeper clarity, deeper wisdom, deeper connection, deeper kindness. This is really what it means to be a practitioner. Now, meditation is the method that allows mind to become workable, to become balanced, to become open, to become connected. Meditation helps us do that. But then with those qualities, then we learn to navigate the world. We learn to navigate our life, our relationships. We intuitively learn how to benefit beings. The reason we learn how to benefit beings, so for instance, in the Joy of Living Level 2, we talk so beautifully about compassion. And we have the methods, the 4 boundless attitudes to sort of build our compassion muscle. But actually, this suggestion to meditate so that we can benefit ourselves and others, this is not morality. It's not something that we should do. There's nobody telling us that we should do this. Actually, if we look closely and we just let the path roll, we realize that this is just a natural human response. Loving kindness and compassion and caring about others and want to reach out to others. Of course, it's beautiful to do, but there's nothing else to do. When we spend a kind of interminable amount of time on the cushion, the byproduct of spending that much time on the cushion is that we begin to have a deep, sensitive, intuitive experience and understanding of our life, our mind, our ups and downs, our hopes and fears. And on the basis of that, we spontaneously, without any effort, we spontaneously begin to become interested and begin to understand other people's monkeys. We become interested in monkey business. This is spontaneous. And so, of course, we codify that as practices in the Joy of Living Level 2, as the 4 boundless attitudes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But again, that's not to discover compassion. It's simply to strengthen what we've already discovered. So I want to make one last point before I shut up, and that is about expectations. So we'll remind you of this again and again because it's so important. As Mingyur Rinpoche says, actually the essence of meditation practice is to let go of your expectations about meditation. All of the qualities of your natural mind, peace, openness, relaxation, and clarity are present in this mind just as it is. So we don't have to look beyond. We don't have to look what's going to be in the future. We don't have to expect some amazing thing, because as we meditate, we naturally, spontaneously, without knowing it, begin to experience the peace, openness, relaxation, and clarity. And this is something that dawns on us as a byproduct of our meditation. But if we expect it, and when we sit down and look for something, you'll never find it. It doesn't work like that. So finally, and I will probably use this example again in the future because it's such a potent one. And I apologize for telling so many stories about Mingyur Rinpoche's father, but that's most of what's floating in my mind at any given time. So talking about expectations, I remember very, very clearly going up the mountain to see him, to see Tokujin. And we were talking, I was asking him questions about meditation practice as usual. I asked him an obnoxious number of questions. And I said, Rinpoche, I said, I can't do this and I can't do that. And my meditation practice isn't good and it's not like this. And he stopped me quite abruptly, which was a shock because he was a very relaxed and gentle person. So I sort of, it sort of stopped me. And he said, please don't think like that. He said, just taking 7 steps towards your meditation cushion in order to tame your mind, to open your heart, and perhaps be of benefit to yourself and others, that makes your life meaningful. And then he said, get on the cushion and just do your meditation practice and leave it. Just do the practice. It's a method. So this is one of the many, many great pieces of advice that I come back to again and again and again, is the trust that just if we hold what we do in a virtuous vision of somehow taming ourselves and potentially benefiting ourselves in the process and benefiting others, this is the virtuous, this is the profound way, this is the way to make this life meaningful. Just that. And then whatever happens on the cushion is not particularly important. So we'll come back to this point, I'm sure, again and again, until you finally say to yourself, I wish you would shut up. I got that the first time. And then I figured that's a success on my part. Okay, so let's open it up. Let's have some questions live. And then Dirk, there's a couple questions I know that are in the chat that I've asked Dirk to ask on their behalf.